Fluorescent lights droning on with their incessant buzz. Moist, musty carpeting. Shades of yellow, endless rooms, hostile entities. This is all the makings of what you'll encounter if you ever find yourself in the Backrooms. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Creeping In, a podcast where we cover true crime, horrors, and the mysterious. I am your host, Marissa Stevens, and today we're going to take a walk through the labyrinth that is the Backrooms. Genuinely one of my favorite topics, and it was really fun to take this deeper dive and to look into and explore some of the levels. Via observance, of course, because I personally will be doing everything I can to avoid entering the Backrooms, but if that's something that you don't have fear of, I can't stop you. With that being said, let's get right into it. While the Backrooms may be a fictional place, it doesn't make it any less interesting or unsettling. In May of 2019, the Backrooms originated on a 4chan post within the paranormal themed board, along with its cardinal photo. The photo I will have included in the post for this episode over on our Instagram if you want to take a look at it, but I'm also going to describe the photo here. The photo shows a large room that honestly is somewhat reminiscent of an empty department store. It has yellowed wallpaper and oppressive fluorescent lighting. The source of the photo is unknown, but it did make an appearance in another thread from April of 2018, which is fairly close in time to that infamous 2019 Backrooms post. The first description of the Backrooms was in a reply from an anonymous user to the original thread, and this is what it stated. If you're not careful and you no clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms, where it is nothing but the stink of old, moist carpet, madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. Not only does that sound completely awful to be trapped in the Backrooms, but the fact that other entities are there waiting is exponentially more terrifying. No clipping was mentioned in that comment, and this leads us to how we enter into the Backrooms. Some people think you can enter the Backrooms through dreams or visions, but the most popular belief is that you can only enter the Backrooms by no clipping out of reality. No clipping is essentially a glitch. When an object in our reality is no clipped and you bump into it or lean on it, for example, a door where there never was one and you're so certain that nothing could be on the other side, or in a room where one wall appears to be just a little bit off in color, like maybe only a shade or two, but you just notice something off about it. There are 999 levels to the Backrooms, making it an endless, unimaginably large, complex place. Within levels, there may be subsections, which can be anything from small rooms, landmarks, or completely different landscapes when compared to the main level. The laws of physics, as we know them, cannot be relied upon when in the Backrooms. Things react differently here, and you have to do your best to be discerning, even through the fear and uncertainty. Let's travel through a few of the levels that I find to be most disturbing. Level 0, the Manila Room. The Manila Room is a small room that is rare to find within level 0 of the Backrooms. The room is square, with thick, solid walls and a unique beigey toned wallpaper, which lends to its name. There is minimal furniture, usually just a simple table with a chair. There is a range of entrances into the Manila Room, anywhere from 1 to 4 entrances. While level 0 is known for being entirely isolating, the Manila Room is actually considered a common meeting area for those wandering throughout the Backrooms. Known to be decently safe as far as the Backrooms goes, and devoid of hostile entities. The lights above drone on with their buzz hum, and the brightness varies, fluctuating over time, and occasional periods of complete darkness may occur. During these periods of darkness, There may be intensified knocking or banging from within the walls of the Manila room. These noises can occur when the lights are on, but tend to be more heightened in the dark. The Manila room stores documents that are created by the MEG, or the Major Explorer Group, which are people of the backrooms. The documents have essential information about the backrooms, including information that may be useful for escaping level 0, a guide to important levels, and information about dangerous entities to look out for. For some, I feel like this room may not seem very intimidating or have much creep factor to it, but for me, I would not want to be left in the Manila room when the lights go out and to be hearing banging and knocking from within the walls. In general, I'm okay, and I personally never want to be in the back rooms, but this is definitely one of the more creepy and unsettling rooms that I have found. Level 7, Thalassophobia. When you enter level 7, you'll be met with an overwhelmingly massive ocean that stretches an infinite length in all directions. Dim, natural light leaks in from an unknown source and is the only means of being able to see. Level 7 is not very well explored due to the difficulty and the danger it presents with the vast waterscape. It is not a secure level, not very safe, and is believed to house some entities. Two rooms make up level 7: the entrance room and the room containing the ocean. The entry room is accessed from the bottom of the stairs in level 6 and is the most habitable area within the level. It can be used as a home base if exploration of the ocean is your desire. The entrance room has furnishings such as a bookcase, a coffee table with a chair, and a fluorescent lamp on the ceiling. The floor, which is carpet, is moist from the damp, shallow puddle that pools on its surface. One of the most daunting parts of the ocean room is that the center of gravity is different there from the entrance room. This can force you into the ocean before you're ready and send you plummeting into the water. Different zones exist in level 7, each with different levels of light. The daylight zone is the lightest or most illuminated. The second, the twilight zone, is from 3 kilometers deep to the midnight zone. The twilight zone has scraps of bones, rusted pieces of metal, and it is noticeably colder than the daylight zone. In the midnight zone, more skeletal remains of humanoid creatures can be found here, notably with indescribable, unsettling features. Below 7 kilometers from the surface of the ocean is the abyss. The abyss has a few piles of tar and rock arranged in mountainous structures, and there is a bubbling that is consistent in its pace, but the source is unknown. There is a large amount of humanoid skeletons present, many of which have fallen to erosion, likely from the intense pressure of the ocean. It's rumored that there is a cave entrance in one of the Rocky Tar Mountains described previously, and this entrance is said to lead you to level 8, but since there is little known at this depth, it's hard to say for certain. For many years, it was believed that only one entity was present in level 7, known as Thing on level 7. However, it is now believed that two entities exist: Thing and an entity referred to as Tiny. These are ferocious, hostile creatures and should be avoided at all costs. Tiny frequents the daylight and the twilight zones, while Thing is present in the midnight zone and the upper portion of the abyss. I guess you could call it a mutual agreement of where they choose to exist. The water temperature of the ocean is cold, but not enough to kill you unless you were exposed to it for a very, very long time. There are technically 3 exits from level 7, the first being the cave entrance that I mentioned earlier that takes you to level 8. The second being a newer find, which is 150 meters west of the entrance room and 150 meters below the surface. And this exit will take you to level 9. And the last is more of an accidental exit and also terrifying, which is that you need to dive into the abyss and fall unconscious. This will lead you directly to level 83, but this method is highly discouraged. This level literally makes my skin crawl. I have a huge, huge fear of dark water, and the thought of being faced with this enormous dark ocean is a complete nightmare for me. There is actually a campground around where I live. It's about an hour away, and it's a man-made lake with all sorts of stuff to do. There's huge slides, a rolling barrel that you like try and balance on as you're standing on it. inflatable rock climbing structures, monkey bars, zip lines, everything that you could think of that would be fun during the summer. And I thankfully went before I developed this overwhelmingly large fear of dark water, because even thinking about it now gives me the creeps. Like I said, it's man made, so it's essentially a giant dirt hole filled with water. So the water is a really deep blue green. Like you can't see your legs if you're in the water. They do make you wear life jackets, which is somewhat reassuring, but I can confidently say that I will not be attending there again for the rest of my life. Okay, back to the backrooms. Now that we've gone over some of the most disturbing levels in the backrooms, I want to talk about a movie that I always think of when talking about the backrooms. That is the movie titled Us from 2019, which was written and directed by Jordan Peele, who also did the film Get Out, which, if you've seen, you know how insane it is, and it has to be one of the most creative and well done movies that I have ever watched. In Us, a young girl named Adelaide wanders away from her parents while at the Santa Cruz Beach boardwalk and finds herself in an eerie funhouse, specifically in the House of Mirrors. Here, she encounters her doppelganger. Fast forward 30 years in her adulthood, she relays this story from her childhood to her husband when the lights go out and they're attacked by a group. But the group is the doppelgangers of all of the family: Adelaide, her husband, her two children. These doppelgangers, referred to as the Tethered, were a government experiment. They were created to control the populace, but when this failed, they were left underground, hidden away from society, stuck in a loop, mimicking the actions of their counterparts. This scene where Adelaide is shown in the Tethered underground and where they reside is really what reminds me of the Backrooms. If you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's a long hallway with yellow overhead lighting and square ottoman shaped seats spread out evenly down the hall. The walls have a yellow hue to them, and it just looks dingy and awful. The Tethered wander about, some acting maniacally, some lethargic, all performing actions of their doppelgangers, and it's so disturbing and creepy. If you haven't seen this, you should definitely give it a watch. It is pretty wild. And again, that movie is called Us. I watched it on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still on there now, but it's definitely worth watching. To end our journey through the backrooms, I want to share a backrooms experience from a Reddit user, and this comes to us from the Backrooms subreddit. The OP writes, "Today I stumbled upon a YouTube video from the excellent Nick Crowley discussing the phenomenon known as the backrooms. As someone who has spent literal decades savoring the strange, the dark, the occult, and the conspiratorial, I have somehow missed out on this particular phenomena slash story slash concept. Watching his short but intriguing overview of the backrooms, it made my skin crawl. I had a very real, very waking experience just a few years ago, which took me to a place that is disturbingly similar to these so-called backrooms. Imagine my surprise when the video, and most related content, described this as nothing more than a creepypasta with its roots in 4chan. And while my experience does have a seemingly innocent explanation, the similarities are far too intriguing to ignore. This is all 100% true, as it happened to the best of my recollection. For background, I am a professional musician and a record producer with a career that started in 2010. Nowadays, I spend my time in the studio, but for many years, I toured the US full time as a bass player with a wide variety of bands. In mid 2017, one of the larger bands I toured with, 40 Ounces to Freedom, a Sublime tribute act, was hired to play the Brooklyn Bowl in Las Vegas. This was an excellent gig, paid great, and we were always treated very well by the staff. The Brooklyn Bowl is a part of the Caesars family of properties. As such, we were always put up in very nice rooms at one of the Caesars-owned casinos on the Strip. On the night in question, we had been placed in individual suites at the Link. After playing the gig, we all went back over to our rooms. My bandmates were excited to spend the rest of the evening partying it up on the Strip and hanging with fans. However, I had a very early flight out of McCarran the next morning to play with a different group back home in Colorado. I decided to forego the offer of a night of fun and just relax in my room until my flight left. Sometime around 3 a.m., I decided to go down to the lobby for a snack. So I got dressed, put on my shoes, and left the room. I walked to the end of the hall and called the elevator. Getting on, I pressed the big, rounded L button. Lobby. That's when things got strange. The elevator lurched slightly, as if it didn't quite know what to do with my request. The overhead light flickered out for a split second, but after a beat, as if nothing was amiss, it began to descend without further protest. In the moment, I didn't think much of it. It was late, after all. Perhaps it had been sitting for a moment or just needed maintenance. But when I reached my destination, I knew something was wrong. The doors slid open, but where there should have been a bustling casino lobby, there was simply a large, empty, white room. A rusted, red painted metal staircase led down from a landing in front of the elevator to the floor. Opposite the staircase, an enormous red metal door. Above the staircase, a loud humming, off yellow fluorescent lighting. Initially, I was baffled. I looked at the display in the elevator, and it confirmed that this indeed was the lobby. My mind raced to all of the stories and places I'd learned about: glitches in reality, underground cults, human trafficking rings, illicit auctions, Silent Hill. But all of that was just lore. I had to know what I stumbled on. I walked down the staircase and approached the door. By sheer luck, it was open. I swung it open and stepped through. Around a sharp corner, there stretched a long, faded hallway with seemingly infinite rooms branching off in either direction. Aging greenish yellow wallpaper patterned with what looked like a leaf or floral motif, dank, musty, moist carpet, all lit by humming, flickering fluorescent tubes. A sharp sense of danger and wrongness tingled through me. What the hell is this place? How did I end up here? I decided to press forward a bit, overcoming the impending sense of doom that had consumed me. I walked up the hallway a short distance, peering into the rooms. Each was dark and empty, devoid of windows, and covered in the same fading wallpaper. There was what looked like graffiti here and there, scrawled illegibly on the walls in black ink. After venturing past 3 or 4 rooms, each step became a dare. I knew I should turn around and get back to my room. Whatever this place was, it was not a pleasant place to be. It made no sense. And so, trusting my better judgment, I turned around and went back through the red door, up the staircase, and called the elevator. After what seemed like an eternity, the doors slid open, and I was whisked without incident back to the plush confines of the link. I had decided that suddenly I wasn't that hungry. Several hours later, I readied my things to leave for the airport. I got on the same elevator, wondering if it would take me down to that same strange hallway. I pressed the large rectangular L once more. No shutter, no flicker this time, and just a moment later, the doors opened to reveal the bustling pre-dawn casino lobby that should have been there all along. Now, as I said at the beginning of this story, there is partially a plausible explanation for this experience. The link was established in 2014 after a short 2-year stint under the name The Quad, but prior to 2012, the lot belonged to the aging Imperial Palace Casino. The Imperial Palace was built in 1979 and featured Asian-themed decor. My best guess was that I somehow happened upon a section of the hotel that was simply a part of the old Imperial Palace that hadn't yet been renovated. Descriptions of the interior of this old property roughly match what I saw. However, there are still key elements of my experience that make no sense to me. The Imperial Palace was destroyed to be rebuilt as the Quad in 2012, 5 years before I was there. How would any section of that old hotel still remain? Even if there was, in theory, an untouched portion of the Imperial Palace left after the building itself was torn down, 5 years of renovation were done and 2 name changes occurred. Why would this area still be easily accessible to guests? And through a strange service entrance, no less? The elevator took me to the ground floor, yet the area I was in was clearly old hotel rooms. The ground floor of casinos almost never house rooms, only food courts and gaming floors. Rooms start on the 3rd or 4th floors typically. Why were these rooms seemingly on the ground floor? The exact button on the exact same elevator took me to the link lobby the second time around. Did the elevator massively glitch the first time? These questions all remain unanswered. There is one last thing I'd like to mention as well. I hate to be this guy on Reddit, but while I was exploring the area, I filmed it on my phone. I will do everything I can to find that phone. I'm somewhat certain I still have it. If I can, I will happily post the video. So, did I just find a derelict hallway buried in the bowels of a casino awaiting a much needed renovation? Or did I stumble upon a strange barrier into the back rooms? I'll let you decide. So, what do you think about this user story? Do you think that they did stumble upon the back rooms and that's where the elevator took them? Or do you really think it was just some old hotel part of the casino, maybe that hadn't been touched even throughout the destruction of the old structure and renovations that had happened seemingly all throughout the building? The one thing that gets me is in the first part when they went down and entered what they're saying is the back rooms, they said that the button to the elevator was rounded. And then in the second part where they went down and actually got to the lobby, they said the button was square. So I'm almost wondering, was there really a glitch and it changed? Like the elevator wasn't the same and it did take them somewhere else? I don't know. Either way, I think I'd be freaking out if I got down there and was in this labyrinth of rooms when I was just trying to go to the lobby. But I will say I have a fear of elevators, so I tend to take the stairs whenever I can. As long as it's less than like 10 floors to climb, I'm probably going to take the stairs. So it may be that my fear of elevators will save me from having this experience. All right, you guys, that is going to wrap up our travel through the back rooms. This is truly a lore masterpiece, and I hope you learned a little bit more about what the backrooms are and how you can hopefully avoid entering that fluorescent prison. As always, please let me know your thoughts on this one by leaving a comment on the post for this episode over on our Instagram, which is Creeping In Podcast, or on our YouTube channel, which is Creeping In Pod. If you want to support this show so we can keep putting out content like this, please leave us a review and give us a follow on whatever platform you're listening on. This really does help us to reach more people, and it is much appreciated if you take the time to do that. Also, don't forget to check out our most recent episode on the Paris catacombs. It was really fun to make, and I think it's my favorite episode that we put out so far. Okay, thank you guys so much for listening. Stay safe, and I will chat with you guys next time.